New Zealand is made up of two islands, the North Island and the South Island. Uncle and I are going to discover all of the interesting things to do on the South Island. And I got a map here that shows you kind of where our route is. We start on the north and we work our way to the south. First thing you do after you get picked up at Christchurch is you get on the bus and you meet your guides. Then you get on the road. Here's our main guide, Vanessa. She was the driver. And the co-guide, Tess, she was chief cook and bottle washer. First thing we did is we stopped off at a little beach for a picnic lunch. And you could see what the bus and trailer looked like. Let's go down to the beach and check out with the beach cam what a New Zealand beach looks like. Well, that's enough of that. Let's go back and see what we got to eat. Oh, it's back on the bus because we're going scuba diving or snorkeling with fur seals. Look, someone left a perfectly good fur seal pup laying around. Now we're going to hike over to where the fur seals hang out. And as you can see, it was a bit of a walk. We were a little bit late. Tide was going out. We were stumbling around the limestone rocks that bordered the ocean. But eventually we got there and we started to snorkel. Hey, is that a fur seal? No, it's just somebody's butt. Oh, hey, watch it, buddy. Well, after you get these beginners out of your way, then you can start snorkeling around and seeing what's down there. And there were rocks, and there were all kinds of little animals that lived there. And hey, I think there's a fur seal down here somewhere. There's one right now. Well, after the fur seal encounter, we're back on the bus. We spent the night at Kaikoura. Then we drove to a winery. And now we've parted company with some of our group and we've begun our backpack. First part of the backpack got us to this first hut. Pretty nice digs, huh? No sleeping outside in the dirt with the animals in the cold. No big nice dining table, nice kitchen. Look at this. This is living. Hi, Tess. Hi, Joe. All right. Well, we spent a nice night. I snored up a storm. Now it's time to start on our second day's adventure. Look at this. Looks just like the Sierras. We got a beautiful day. It was forecasted to be rain, but as you can see, no rain in this forecast. So we're eventually going to hike over to those mountains in the distance and then go up that valley behind that ridge. So we decided it was time to start. We took off across the bottom of the valley, and there's Vanessa. She's leading the way. There's Uncle. The rest of the group came along. We went with Alan and Stephanie, and we got to a river, and I learned one thing that's very important about New Zealand. Sometimes you come to a river, and there's no bridge, and you just gotta cross it. Well, I just walked across in my shoes. The others, oh, they had all kinds of stuff. Ooh, that was a sandfly. Did you see that thing? They bite. And their bite itches, buddy. So we started hiking along the side of the river. And it's a beautiful day. You can see the clouds in the sky. There's Mr. Sun. And we came to where we make a right-hand turn and head up the valley. We had a nice little snack. And you can see that the trail is pretty nice. See that little orange triangle? That's how you find your way, because the trail isn't always... Hey, wait a minute. Where'd the trail go? What? They should get some people in here and fix this trail. Apparently, some storms had come through, and the trail was a bit in disrepair. So we made our way along the logs that were down and the tree fall. Somebody at least came and cut that one. And we knocked a few bushes out of our way and climbed up kind of in this beach forest. And even though it was a sunny day, we were hiking in the nice shade. And you could see that New Zealand has a lot of rainfall because there's all kinds of moss and plants. And look at that trail. That's just perfect. Just the kind of trail I like. So we continued our trek, and eventually we're going to get to this nice little meadow. And once we got to the meadow, we decided this would be a perfect place for lunch. Unfortunately, when you look up in the distance, you see where we have to go. Yes, we're going to climb that escarpment. I better get some water. Now, New Zealand, you can just take your bottle and fill it right up out of the stream. No need to filter. Well, now it's time to climb, buddy boy. And this trail was steep, too. We went by beautiful waterfalls, and as we looked in the distance, we said, this is gonna hurt. And it did. But eventually we got to the beautiful Angelus Hut on Lake Angelus. Unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery, my phone ran out of battery, and the sun went away, so I can't show you the last leg of our trip. But eventually, after a beautiful night's sleep in a really crowded hut with 28 other campers, we were back on the bus and we were heading for our next adventure. Our next adventure starts in Punakaki, and we are going to hike along the Parari River. And this is kind of like a jungle hike. It's very dense and lush with lots of plants, lots of vegetation, because this area gets a lot of rainfall. It's right on the western coast. We saw all kinds of ferns and little plants that lived on the ground. It was very, very interesting, and it was extremely beautiful. It was just like you were in The Lord of the Rings. Any minute, you expected an orc or an ogre or a fairy to pop out and surprise you. I guess they weren't home today. Check out that fungus. That is what I... Hey, wait a minute. What is this? I think this is a hobbit house. Yep, I'm right. This is the house of Bilbo Baggins, buddy. Come on in. Let's see if Bilbo's home. Hey, Bilbo, what you got going? Oh, it's not Bilbo's home at all. It's a cave. Can you believe it? Pretty neat. Then we decided to go over and see the Pancake Rocks. These rocks are all limestone and they're all layered. Pretty stinking neat. Check it out. And some of them even form blowholes. We didn't get to see any of that today, but they tell me they're there. Well, after the Pancake Rocks, you guessed it, it's back on the bus. We're going to the Franz Josef Glacier. There's me and Uncle. Gotta be careful what doors you open. Somebody could be using the facilities. The next day, we were off to Okarito. At Okarito, we met Baz and his wife, Jim. They run a sea kayaking operation where we got to sea kayak in the Okarito Lagoon into this really cool river where we got a chance to see the Rimu trees. And the name of our tour was the Rimu, which is named after this tree. All their tours are named after something about New Zealand. Well, Uncle and I paddled out, and he would take the pictures, and I would steer the kayak. And as you can see, it was a beautiful day. The wind was blowing, and the rain was falling. Here, we're floating up the river, and the other guys are going back, because they raced out really quickly. But Uncle and I took our time, because we wanted to just enjoy it. We wanted to immerse ourselves in the New Zealand Okarito experience. Here we are, just floating along, checking out listening to the bird songs, just sitting there in the silence, enjoying nature. It was pretty stinking neat. A lot of bird calls, but we didn't get to see too many birds. Uncle saw something over on the bank, so we pulled over. Hey, Uncle, what did you see? No, he's not telling me. Well, it's time to get back in the boat, buddy.
You're gonna have to scooch me
He's going to
back
take
a
the
little.
sponge, do a little cleanup. Then he's going to push me back and jump in. We were out so long that I think they started to get worried about us, so they sent the safety boat. Hey, what are you guys doing? We were just hanging out, listening to the birds. Ah, that's perfect, mate. That's exactly what you should be doing. You guys good to get back? Yeah, we're fine. And we decided, and we didn't decide, we had to paddle to get all the way back. And it is a long way. If you look down where the coast meets the sea, we had to go all the way back there. And as you can see, it was a beautiful day.
Yep, that's what I'm shooting for.
Well, we took a really nice hike later in the afternoon in the pouring rain, then back on the bus. Because the next day, we are going to get to do some bicycle riding. Now, unfortunately, my battery was all out of battery. So I only have a few still shots. And that was kind of a cool little cabin that we got to stay in too. It was a beautiful day, and we enjoyed our ride. Oh, well, there might have been a mishap or two. We rode all the way to Wanaka. Oh man, when I was tired, I needed a hand. So did Uncle. Well, you guessed it, no time to dally. It's time to get back on the bus because we got places to go and people to see. We're about right there in that big yellow spot because it's our rest day in Queenstown. And Queenstown is the activity center of New Zealand. And you come down this long, windy road that looks really precarious and dangerous into this beautiful valley with this amazing lake. And that, my friend, is Queenstown. Looks pretty neat, doesn't it? Lake's shaped like a thunderbolt. Hey, look, a kiwi. Well, you guessed it, it's back on the bus. And we're heading to beautiful Milford Sound, an iconic destination in New Zealand. But before we got there, we got a chance to hike part of the Rotoburn track. Unfortunately, my camera is out of battery. That's Mount Marion and a cool little pool. Oh yeah, Rotoburn track. Then we continued on down into Milford Sound with the huge, iconic granite walls. We are almost way down there on that sound. And we're going kayaking. And it was a beautiful day. Get a nice guide that helps you into your kayak. Make sure you know what you're doing. Boy, did I have her fooled. Anyway, we took off and we paddled out into this mirror lake kind of sound that came in from the sea down this great fjord. And eventually they made us paddle over and get together in what they called a raft up, where we all got together. They gave us some final instructions, and then they broke us up into little groups so that you had a nice small little contingent of people going around the sound, with each group had a guide that would explain to you all about the waterfalls and the river, the ocean, what kind of animal life you could see, and just to make sure that you were safe during your trip. So we spent about 4 hours out on the water just exploring this beautiful, naturally beautiful place. But on the way back, the wind came up and it was kind of a chore getting back. But we eventually made it, and
Oh
it
no, this is
was
it. You
like
bet.
just a wonderful memory. I'll
Well, it's
always
kind of
remember
an
Milford
adventure
Sound when I
this way.
think of New
You know,
Zealand.
more of a.
But you guessed it, it's time to get back on the bus. Get back on the bus, Gus, and cruise by these beautiful granite walls. Yes, those are waterfalls coming off that granite, fed by that snow-capped walls. Oh, it's beautiful. But to get out, of course, you got to go through a tunnel. Like life. You're in this dark tunnel, and all of a sudden you see the light. Go towards the light. You have to go towards the light. And we did. And we popped right out. And we headed on down the road for our next adventure. The next adventure is another one of the great walks. The Rotoburn Track is a great walk in New Zealand. People from all over the world come to do it. Today, we're doing a little bit of the Kepler Track. And this is real Lord of the Rings territory. I want you to check this out. Buddy, this is just what the Lord of the Rings could have been filmed in. Look at that mossy undergrowth, and the ferns were amazing. There. Oh, is that a hobbit? No, it was just another hiker. Pretend that you're one of the Lord of the Rings, and you've got your Bilbo Baggins, you got that ring, and you got to get, or your Frodo, or whoever it is, because I'm really not a fan. But you got to get that ring to the Mountain of Doom. So you're walking through this ferny jungle, looking out for all those nasty kind of wrath riders or whatever they were. Until you come to a bridge and you realize, hey, I'm in New Zealand, over a beautiful river. I wish I was a fisherman or a water skier because there's nobody on that river. Now we're almost in the middle of the country and we're coming back. We're going to be on the backside of the Franz Josef Glacier. We're going to the Mount Cook National Park. And we got to stay in a refurbished sheep shearer's shed. There's the kitchen. This was our room. I got to look at the stars at night from my own bed. Hey, what's that? That looks like a kiwi. That was Mount Cook in the background. And we're not going to hike up Mount Cook. That's the same mountain that Sir Edmund Hillary used to practice for Everest. That'd be a little too technical. We're going up this other ridge to the Mueller Hut. And there's about, I'd say 1,000 of those stairs.
Hi.
And they're
How you
steep
doing?
too, mister. You want to take frequent rests.
Some hut.
These things, look at those things. Man, I was huffing and puffing. But eventually we got to the top of the stairs. That's the good news. Bad news is, you're not even halfway there yet. Oh, and the stairs go away. I guess the stair crew gave up on the lower half. But look at those beautiful views. We met some new friends. Hi there.
Alright, well, you
Check out those glaciers, snow-capped mountains, those glacier-fed streams. But then the trail kind of disintegrates, and you're starting to go over the rocky, steep terrain. And you're looking for these poles with orange tape on them so you can find your way, because there ain't much. So I was really struggling. Yep, you see that ridge line up there? That's where we gotta go. And as you're walking along, you're thinking, man, I need a break. But then you're back on the trail, and it's still rocky, and it's still hard, and you're huffing and puffing, and you're going, man, how could this get any worse? And then you hit the snow, and it just got worse, and you're not even there. Eventually we got to the top, and the hut is right behind those rocks. And you can see Uncle is pretty slippery, so Uncle and I decided to stay. We were going to stay on the rocks. He's trying to watch his footing. And eventually we made it to the hut. And the hut is pretty cool. We had a nice little lunch up there, and then it's back down. So we decided we'd kind of wend our way down, looking for those poles with the orange tape on them. And we were finding our way. It's still rocky, it's still steep. And as all mountaineers know, when you get to the top, you're only halfway there. So we made our way back down until we found that snowfield again, and Uncle said, "Well, I'm just going to ski down." Should have brought his powder skis. Well, eventually we got back. The last day we went to a farm and saw some sheep shearing. And then it was time to say goodbye to New Zealand. We were back in the airport, waiting for that flight back to LAX and the reality of our world.